It's time to hit the road and discover Texas with Annie Studebaker. Get ready to travel deep into the heart of the Lone Star State, meeting friendly folks and exploring fascinating places. Experience a way of life like nowhere else in the world as we uncover the rich history and culture of Texas. Discover adventure, discover excitement, discover Texas with Annie Studebaker.
Today we will discover Mark and Bonnie Brown's ranch in Raymondville, Texas. We will be hunting for wild pig. It will be a fun and exciting adventure. We will also meet Josh Helsel, Extension Associate, Texas A&M AgriLife. This is where we'll get a crash course of wild pig population, migration, and a lot more.
First of all, feral hogs are not native to the United States. They were actually introduced from Europe in about the 1500s. So this was the domesticated European farm pig that was brought over to North America primarily for food production purposes. There weren't a lot of fences back then, and these animals were allowed to range freely upon the landscape. In so doing, they established feral populations or wild populations. And it wasn't until about the 1930s in Texas, in Bexar County, in Calhoun County, in Aransas County, and in a few other counties that the actual Eurasian or Russian boar was introduced to Texas primarily for hunting purposes. Well, these animals also escaped from some of these hunting preserves, and then they readily interbred with the feral hogs originating from domestic stock. So here in Texas today, we can have up to 3 different types of feral hogs, or wild pigs, which is actually the better term for it. We can have wild pigs that are feral domestic swine that have become feral. We can also have the hybrid between the Eurasian or Russian boar and the feral European farm pig. And then we can also have the Eurasian or Russian boar. Now those are becoming increasingly rare. They're pretty much restricted to hunting preserves throughout Texas at this time. My name is Josh Helsel. I'm an Extension Associate with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service.
I've been hunting South Texas since I was 8 years old, and that makes it 56 years. And I've been hunting since with my son, and now with my grandsons, my son-in-law, and so we're continuing the tradition of hunting in South Texas. My favorite method of hunting is with a rifle, riding around in this old Jeep, and with my dog Honey here, and just easing around late in the afternoon after, you know, a day's work, and ending the day out here and catching a hog out in the open, and with my old 222 here, and just having some fun.
In Texas, we more than likely have a higher population of hybrids or domestic pigs that have become feral over time. Wild pigs can live up to 8 years, sometimes a little bit more in the wild. We know that sows are incredibly reproductively successful. They can start reproducing at about 5 to 6 months of age. Now, when they do, they can have 4 to 6 piglets per litter. But the research shows that the older a wild pig sow is, the more offspring she can potentially have. So whereas a 6-month-old sow is going to have 4 to 6 piglets per litter, a 4 to 5 or 6-year-old sow can be having 8, 9, 10, and I've heard of as many as 12 in the wild. So they're classified as the most reproductively successful large mammal worldwide. So in 2012, wild pigs were documented in 99% of Texas's 254 counties. Here it is 2017, and wild pigs have now been documented in 100%, that is all of Texas's 254 counties. Population densities are higher in central and south and also east Texas, along the Red River as well, with smaller populations but established populations out west. Wild pigs are classified as opportunistic omnivores. Believe it or not, the vast majority of their diet, approximately 80%, is actually vegetation. However, they have been known to consume the eggs of native species such as bobwhite quail and turkeys, including the Rio Grande and eastern turkeys. Also, the fawns of ungulate species such as white-tailed deer. But that said, they do prefer vegetation.
Well, you know, this is a South Texas ranch, and we hunt deer, white-tailed deer, nilgai. There's a few nilgai out here. We've got Rio Grande turkey. We've got quail, bobwhite quail, and we hunt doves, white wings, and mourning doves. Just the typical South Texas game that's down here in the valley. Well, as you can see, the damage caused by feral hogs, we've been riding around the ranch for a while, and we've come to different spots where there's just big craters. As all hogs do, they want to root, and they make big craters and mess up roads and do damage to your pasture and damage to your habitat all over the ranch. It's a continuous battle trying to control that.
Hold on to your hat. We'll be right back.
Current control strategies for wild pigs in Texas include trapping, hunting or shooting, aerial gunning, trained dogs, and also snaring. It may surprise you to know that research has shown that only 2 of these methods are actually capable of population reduction. These include aerial gunning and also trapping. A lot of people were surprised to learn that shooting and hunting, conventional shooting and hunting, actually does not reduce wild pig populations. However, that doesn't mean that shooting and hunting shouldn't be enacted. It should more be viewed as a tool of pressure that can be used to direct wild pig movements. For example, if I said that you could potentially reduce your agricultural damages by half just by enacting strategic shooting, would you do it? Well, a lot of people would, and the research backs that up. Approximately half of agricultural damages can be reduced just by enacting strategic shooting and some of these other tools. We often recommend to utilize all the tools in our toolbox. Now, these include both the population reduction methods and also other methods such as shooting, snaring, and the use of trained dogs. For more information on wild pigs, their impacts, and how to effectively reduce populations, please visit feralhogs.tamu.edu.
I never had the privilege of hunting from a Jeep. It was so much fun.
There we go.
Before sundown, we drove around looking for wild pigs. We parked the Jeep and used our binoculars to see a sounder of pigs in the distance. Mark drove closer to them. I was worried that they would hear or see us. They were oblivious to our presence. I finally got a chance to shoot a wild pig. What a rush! The moment of excitement began when I first caught a glimpse of them. My heart was pumping, I was aiming and trying not to move.
Can you believe I missed it?
You didn't miss it. You think it went this way, Danny?
How could I?
Which one?
A dark one.
This one over here.
On the left.
Let's go down there. You find him? I thought he turned and went this way.
I'm assuming they ran under here, and there's a lot of blood right here. Maybe through that trail. There's more blood over there.
Well, you got good eyes. Where's your blood?
Over there. See this little trail? You see it?
Here?
No. On like here on the edges. You see all this?
That's a good sign. Stand back there where that blood is, see if you find anyone.
See? I'm assuming it follows this.
Stay with that trail. More blood?
Some here. Okay. Here. Here it is.
Here it is.
Found it.
Good job, Danny. Nice sow. You hit it great. She's just strong. Good job tracking, man.
Golly, that's
Good job.
finally,
Yeah.
finally.
Let's go get it out to the road and see if we can get another one before dark. There's a Jeep right through there. Y'all watch for snakes, guys. It's a good one.
Let me help you. Let's see if I can pull it. When I got the pigs home, they were processed immediately, packaged, and frozen.
Hold on to your hat. We'll be right back.
In Texas, there are more wild pigs here than anywhere else in the United States. Now, part of that is because Texas is a very large state. Part of that is because we have excellent agricultural production, evenly spaced riparian corridors, outstanding habitat, and a number of other factors. One of these being the access to supplemental feed. In Texas, we also have a great number of people that are providing supplemental feed to native species, including white-tailed deer, turkeys, but inconsequentially also wild pigs. And one of the really good things that we can do is to exclude our supplemental feed sites from access by wild pigs. Research conducted at Texas A&M found that 28 to 34-inch paneling will exclude wild pigs from supplemental feed sites completely, while still allowing access for desirable species such as white-tailed deer, turkeys, and others. So one of the common ways that people know that they may have a problem with wild pigs is by viewing the extensive rooting damage that does occur with their presence. Believe it or not, pigs are primarily nocturnal. About 90% of their activities are either crepuscular, meaning at dawn or dusk, or actually completely nocturnal. A lot of this rooting behavior and damage behavior actually occurs at nighttime, where the pigs are seeking food sources such as roots and tubers, vegetation, and explosive breeders such as frogs and other amphibians. Wild pigs are known to carry a number of diseases, but wild pigs are just as likely to carry any disease that a domestic pig may carry as well. However, the prevalence of disease in wild pigs is higher than that in domestic pigs. I believe there's as many as 47 different diseases that can be transmitted from wild pigs to either livestock, animal companions, or humans. However, the vast majority of those diseases actually occur through direct contact between species and not through consumption. As a matter of fact, according to the CDC, provided that the animals are prepared to 165 degrees internal temperature, there are known diseases that can be communicated from wild pigs to humans through consumption. Trapping is also research proven to be an effective means of reducing wild pig populations. A big problem that I see all across Texas is that people will enact trapping efforts using various tools, but will have limited success. What I mean by this is a very common scenario is that people will go down to the local feed store, they will buy a small portable box trap, they will take it out to where their pigs are, and they'll set it to catch the very first night. And they may catch 2 or 3 pigs. But wild pigs run around in groups called sounders. It's kind of like a herd of buffalo or a flock of geese. It's classified as a sounder of wild pigs. And utilizing small trapping systems like box traps can often lead to incomplete captures, meaning if you have a sounder of 8 to 10 pigs and you remove 2 of them, well, then there are 6 to 8 pigs that have just learned to avoid traps in the future. And this leads to trap aversion. Research conducted in Georgia found that larger corral traps are as much as 4 times more effective than smaller box traps in population reduction of wild pig populations. And so a good recommendation that I would give to folks that are interested in trapping wild pigs is take a look at these larger corral style traps and also implement the process of pre-baiting, meaning that it's not a good idea to go out and set your trap to catch and to bait it the very first night, because this can also lead to incomplete captures. What you want to do is pre-bait over a course of time. It may take 2 or 3 days, it may take 2 or 3 weeks, but the goal is to use game cameras to identify when the entire sounder is routinely entering the larger trap so that you can enact a single trap night to remove an entire sounder at a time. This counters the intelligence of pigs. It also can help to eliminate and reduce incomplete captures, which can reduce overall trapping success. So if you watch the news or look on YouTube or Google wild pigs or listen to these TV shows, people will generally have you believing that wild pigs are going to attack you, that they're going to charge you, that they may be dangerous animals. And the fact of the matter is that even though these animals can be several hundred pounds, and actually both the males and females can actually have these tusks that they become known for, they're actually much more afraid of you than you are of them. Believe it or not, a lot of negative interactions between humans and wild pigs are often the fault of the humans involved and not the wild pigs themselves. What I mean by this is that if it's a mother with young, if the animal is wounded, or if the animal is cornered, these are situations that can cause any animal, it could be a squirrel or a black bear or a wild pig, to defend their young or defend themselves. And the best rule of thumb if you run into a wild pig is to simply be calm and back out and then walk away. And oftentimes they'll be running away from you before you ever see them. So Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service has recently released a new publication on wild pigs and tick-borne illness. Now this research came all from Texas, and what we found about wild pigs and tick-borne illness is quite interesting. As many as 75%, 3 out of every 4 wild pigs in Texas are potentially infested with tick species capable of communicating tick-borne illness to livestock, companion animals, other wildlife, or humans. Now these are exoded or hard-shelled ticks, and they're very similar to the exact species that you would see on deer and other species as well. But with over 2.6 million wild pigs in Texas, that's a large number of additional hosts that are now present on the landscape. Diseases that can be communicated include Lyme disease, borreliosis, rickettsial infections, Ehrlichia, and a number of others. And so we would caution folks, if you are handling wild pigs, if you're handling white-tailed deer, if you're simply using areas where these animals are present, be very cautious about the potential for contracting a tick and having a tick come on you from these animals. Things that you can do is wear proper protective equipment. So if I'm going to be processing a pig, I'm going to be wearing nitrile gloves. I'm going to be wearing eye protection. And that's because there is the potential for these animals to have ticks come on and get on you when you're processing them. And so just be careful, and I would recommend to folks as well, check out that publication on tick-borne illness. You can find that at the AgriLife bookstore, which is agrilifebookstore.org. It's a free download. So, wild pigs are known to have a very large home range. In some cases, several thousand acres, and research has documented their home range up to 19 square miles. In some instances, they've been known to swim as far as 3 miles across the ocean. In the state of Texas, wild pigs are required to be transported from their origin and capture to an approved holding facility within 7 days of capture. Until that time, they can remain in the origin of capture or in a pen or trailer. However, it's best to check with Texas Animal Health Commission for the most up-to-date laws and regulations. However, holding wild pigs beyond 7 days is in fact illegal. So in Texas, there are currently 106 different facilities that will purchase live wild pigs. Price per pound ranges between 20, 75 to 80 cents per pound. The caveat being that these pigs need to be transported and sold live. So there is no market currently for deceased wild pigs. However, if you trap your pigs, you can transport them and actually make a little money off of these animals. And the majority of these animals actually end up for human consumption, a portion of them here in the United States and then others overseas. Aerial gunning has been proven to be an effective method for population reduction for wild pigs, also in Texas. If you're interested in aerial gunning operations on your property, there's a couple of options. The first being the use of Texas Wildlife Services. Now these are your federal trappers and these are folks that also enact aerial gunning operations statewide. Another option is the private aerial gunning companies. In 2011, Texas passed something called the Pork Chopper Bill, which allowed private aerial gunning operations on public lands. And so these are your two options for aerial gunning. My general recommendation would be to contact your county extension agent as far as getting a hold of Texas Wildlife Services if you're interested in aerial gunning operations to control wild pig populations.
It has been a great hunting adventure, and at the same time, it was very educational. This is Annie Studebaker with Discover Texas. Until next time.